It's one of the most deadly forms of cancer, killing more than 10,000 people each year. We're talking about melanoma. In this week's Your Community Health, WENY's Renata Steele talks with an Arnett Health doctor about this form of skin cancer with risk factors and what you need to look out for.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Your Community Health. I'm Renata Steele with WENY News, and I am joined this week by Dr. Amit Sharma. We are at Arnett Health, one of the offices here in Elmira. And Dr. Sharma, we are talking this week about melanoma, which is a form of skin cancer. That's the topic of our conversation today. But one of my first questions for you is, how common is melanoma?
Yes. Hi, Renata. Thank you very much for having me and doing this community series. We have a very important topic here. Melanoma is a serious skin cancer and the deadliest skin cancer. And melanoma is very common, and the number of new cases increases very rapidly.
Really?
So to give you an example, I have some numbers from 2014. There were about 76,000 new cases of melanoma.
Wow.
Just that year, and each year it is increasing exponentially.
And now, what are some of the things that you should be looking for if you have a mole or a growth that looks a little bit irregular to you? What are some of the things that you should be paying attention to?
Sure, yeah. So we have a simple rule. This is a general rule that you can apply. If you know, some people may have heard about the ABCDs of melanoma, and A stands for asymmetry. Basically, if you cut the mole in half, does it match each end? B is border irregularity, which is, if the borders are ragged, that's one of the concerns. C is color, if there are different colors in the mole. And D is diameter. We measure based on if it's greater than 6 millimeters, so which is roughly the size of diameter of a pencil eraser.
Okay.
And so some people may have heard of the ABCDs. I would also like to add a few more. If we continue with the alphabet, so to say, there's also EFGs of melanoma. E is for evolution, so if it's changing, or if there's elevation. Anytime you can feel a mole, that should raise some concern.
I see.
And F is firmness, if the mole feels it's firm. And G is, again, going back to the E, is growth, if it grows rapidly over months.
Okay, and now I want to talk about some of the risk factors. Are certain people more likely to develop melanoma, or certain habits or lifestyles leave you at a higher risk?
Yes, absolutely. So there are many risk factors. Let's just go over some of them. One being the sun exposure. So with melanoma, sun exposure is important, but it's the intensity of the exposure.
I see.
So you can have be in the sun all day, but if you're there at the prime time between 10 and 4, and you have intense sun exposure, that's a greater risk. Some of the other risk is prior history of any skin cancer. Going along with that, it's family history. If you have a family history of melanoma or other skin cancer, that puts you at risk. But the number of moles also is important. So as a general rule, if you have more than 25 moles, you should let your nurse or doctor know.
And let's finally talk about self-skin exams. You should check yourself, be aware of changes in your body, but there are also places in your body that you just can't get to. You can't see, say the middle of your back or the top of your head or things like that.
Correct, yes, exactly. I would say everyone should at least examine their body, know their body, and examine from head to toe. And you just need a few things. You need a full-length mirror, a handheld mirror, and a bright light, and a blow dryer if possible. So if you start from the head, use the blow dryer to look at the hair, to move the hair around, and very important to examine the back of the neck.
Okay.
So we forget about the neck, and chest, back, lower back is very important. That's the most common site of the melanoma.
Oh, okay.
And for women, underneath the breast, that's important.
That's not somewhere you would really think of.
Correct, yes. And then hands and feet. and this includes the nails and the sole of the feet, as long as along with toenails as well,
Okay,
and also the genitals.
I see.
So, yeah.
So a lot of really useful information here. Dr. Sharma, I want to thank you for speaking with us about melanoma today. And we're going to have all of the information as well as resources for you on our website, WENY.com. Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of Your Community Health.